You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about the behind the scenes of supervision. We read Behind the Scenes with a Counselor in Training, published in Counseling Today 2022. In the article, the first point is it really is training.
Definitely. I think that if you are not ready to take on supervisees to really be in a teaching role or in communicate and all those things, that's probably supervision may not be what you need to do. It is having a lot of different pieces working all at one time.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe we've talked about it before with each other that when people become supervisors, they become supervisors for different reasons.
Right.
But if you don't realize that you're getting yourself into a position where you train people, it might not be for you.
Right. I mean, some people just don't enjoy that at all.
Right.
So that would be important to consider. It is constant training. And a lot of it will depend on, is this person coming to you right away, like out of school? Or are they coming to you, you're their second supervisor. You're there, they've moved and
That's what I thought of at first, is it really is training, that at whatever step they're at in their development, you can really feel it and see it. You said, maybe you're their first or second or third supervisor. It's really apparent to me when I'm supervising, newly supervising someone who's maybe had one or two others.
Okay.
And they only know supervision one way.
Oh, yeah. That's always tricky.
Right. I think you told me about a supervisee like that. You started out and you gave them your expectations and they were surprised.
They were very surprised. Oh, what? We're talking about all my clients every week? Like they were very, oh, you want to see my notes? Oh, no one's asked me for notes before. Oh, well, I am. So, things like that.
Yeah. Right now, I have some supervisees that are wrapping up their hours for full licensure. And so working with them feels more collaborative than it does.
Right.
I'm not every week having to do a lot of teaching. They've learned a lot and they're more independent in what they're doing. So when I get new supervisees, I think that the difference will be dramatic. I'll really notice, oh, wow, I'd forgotten.
Right.
I'd had this little group for so long that I'd forgotten that some people need hand-holding or don't know things yet.
I guess it's been maybe 3 years ago. I was at that point where I was in transition. Like someone was finishing hours and I was taking on someone new. And they called late one night and said, I think that I have to make a CPS report and I want to make sure I'm doing everything right. And I was like, sure, no problem. Let me give you a call back. And in my head, I've talked plenty of people through whether we report or not. And then also the process of how you report and all those things. In my head, this was a 10-minute conversation. I had completely forgot that she was brand new and had never done this before and never even knew about about the online system or about any piece of it. And she was really, really worried that she was going to make someone mad by making a report. And there was a whole bigger, it was an hour-long conversation, not my 10 minutes, I thought, because it was walking through the steps and behind it and about, it's not
reassuring and coaching.
Right. Much more so than in my brain, go ahead and make the report. Okay. Oh, you actually needed more than just make the report.
I'm trying to think of examples where I assumed, like you, I assumed that they've been through this or they know this process. Maybe times where I realized they didn't know what to expect. So they didn't, in counseling, in supervision also, but maybe I can think of, I had a supervisee and kind of offhand comment. She didn't think that this would be an issue or a focus of supervision, mentioned that week to week, she was probably losing more clients than she was getting.
Oh, yeah.
And because she didn't have experience yet, she didn't have perspective, she thought that was very typical.
Right.
Yeah. So she just mentioned, I think I asked her, well, tell me about this client. Oh, I'm not seeing them anymore. They didn't come back. Oh, and then, there were a couple like
Right.
that in
You're
one
like,
week.
uh-oh.
And I went, how often is that happening? Oh, probably like everybody else, like about 70 or 80%.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's
Maybe
reevaluate.
Yeah. But not having perspective, maybe sometimes they don't know what to bring to supervision, what
Yeah.
questions to ask, or what they're having trouble with because they assume this is how it works.
Right.
Or this is how everybody feels.
Well, and I think sometimes you're having an experience that may not even be counseling relating. I had a supervisor walk into my office one night where we were leaving at the same time, and his face was like he was in trouble.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, what's going on? It was right around the holidays, and we were actually going to be locking up the office for like a while. And I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like this, and he holds up this basket, and it is a beautifully decorated basket, and it is filled with wine, like 5 bottles of wine from around the world.
Uh-oh.
And like, he's like, I don't know how to say no. He just was like frozen with it. And I was like, okay. So he was getting close to the end of his hours, but like it was the first holiday season that he'd
Sure.
been in this kind of situation in private practice.
I mean, that's a good point too. It's training. And yes, you gain experience the longer you do it. But how many times does something happen and you think, well, that's the first time that's ever happened?
Right. Okay. Well,
No.
that's a new one.
Yep. Forever.
Right.
Yeah.
It never changes.
Yeah.
And that's something too to like use in your training. Like it could happen at any point in time. It's not just because they're new or because they're learning.
I'm thinking about, I've had a supervisee that maybe like yours, like I looked at her and knew something was not going well. And just, reflecting a tiny bit or asking like, hey, what's going on? She said, I think I must be really bad at this.
Oh, okay.
I went, oh, what? Well, at first I didn't know what she meant
By this, right.
And she said, I just feel like I'm trying really hard and I'm not making the difference I want to make, or I can't catch up. Maybe I can't handle the things that are involved in this job.
Right.
And that was a good example of she just didn't have perspective because I had to really work to ask the right questions to get the information from
What
her.
was actually wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once she described what she was having a hard time with, I was able to give her feedback that no, this expectation is unreasonable.
Right.
I don't know how well you would do if you had reasonable expectations, but something that's causing you a problem right now is that no, you certainly can't see, I don't know, it was some really big number. You can't see 40 clients a week.
Right. And think
that's not possible.
Right.
So it really is training.
All the time.
Yeah. The second point in the article was that you don't get any time off. What are your thoughts on that? Do you get time off as a supervisor?
I think you can. I mean, it depends on who your supervisees are. Like if they're mine right now, I have one working in a clinic setting and one working private practice, but they don't work weekends. And so I don't really, once the day is finished on Friday, pretty much I do get a break until Monday morning. But that's just for my supervision part of my world. Like that doesn't mean that something couldn't pop up with one of their clients over the weekend, but more than likely it doesn't.
I have had supervisees that worked unusual hours or weekends, and then I do feel like I need to be available to what they have going on within reason.
Right.
So they know, okay, if it's a weekend, if I'm going out of town, I'm going to tell them.
Right.
And that still means that I'll be available, but it might mean it takes me longer to get back to you.
Right.
Or late at night, I'm pretty good, but I also sleep really well. So I might not wake up if it's a weird hour late at night. So I think when I'm explaining that to my supervisees, I'm also trying to give them a lesson on boundaries.
Right. Exactly.
That when you're on your own and you have clients that call at a weird time on a weekend or something like that, that it would be appropriate for them to also say, no, I'm with my kids right now at the park, and so I can't take a phone call like that.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you don't ever get back to them, but within reason, you have some limits for yourself. One time this was not a supervisee, but a client. And I think he did this 2 or 3 times. He would call in the afternoon on a weekend and leave a message. And his message would always sound like, I need you to call me back right now.
Right.
Some version of it. And I think the first 2 times I didn't call back on the weekend. I waited until Monday. But maybe the first time was like the afternoon on a Sunday. So it wasn't a very long wait until the next morning. I think the last time it happened, I remember I was actually out to brunch with friends. And so we had mimosas.
Right. And you're like, well.
Right. Well, exactly. I'm not picking up that phone call. But this client was, I think he had just turned 21. Maybe he was 22. But when I saw him on Monday, I said, hey, I got your phone call. It sounded urgent, but I was with friends and we were actually at brunch and I had a mimosa. So there's absolutely no way that I was going to answer that phone call. And he actually started to say that he was upset by that. And I said, stop and think about what you're saying. How upset or how would you have felt had I actually picked up the phone and you could tell that I was in a busy place with noise around me? And maybe you could tell in my voice that I'd had a drink. That stopped him. He went, okay, I got you. You made your point. That's a good point. And he didn't do it after
and he
that.
got it.
He didn't call again after that. So I try to set the same kind of example of boundaries for supervisees by me setting boundaries with them.
Right. Very good.
Okay. The last point in our article is be prepared to be called out on your own stuff.
Yeah. I mean, but it can be good. It doesn't always mean bad. I think, especially with interns and supervisees are learning, right? They're fresh out of school. They maybe are up to date on something that I haven't done a continuing education for yet, or they might be like, oh, well, that rule changed and now we're supposed to do it this way. Oh, okay.
I envision, or it brings up this feeling of like the 5-year-old says, mommy said a curse word, or, you know, that you're like, ugh. Yes,
that happened. Okay. Yeah.
So have you had supervisees call you out, and does it feel like that to you? Like, mommy just said a curse word.
A little bit. I mean, a little bit. Depends on what it is. Sometimes I just go, okay, yeah. And other times I'm like, oh, how did I miss that? Like, that was silly. I actually had one when we were during lockdown, we were all doing virtual everything. And one of my supervisees side messaged me and said, hey, just so you know, you really need to put your pronouns in your...
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. And like, it made sense.
Yeah.
But again, we were like on the call, we like finished the call, like all that. And like, I didn't do it right away. Like they brought it up again at our next meeting and was like, so Heather, you need to put those in. And I was like, okay, but I mean, part of me was like, but do I? And then the other part was like, okay, but I get it. But it just felt very like...
I think that's also developmental. Like we're talking about that is training. Like it's part of their process. That I don't know if that's an example, but there are some things that are more opinion or preference rules. And trying to think about those times that I've been called out. I had a supervisee that called out my business cards, that the business card didn't have all of the information on it that our state requires. And I think that is fact. I mean,
it's a requirement.
I could look it up. I could find the rule and I could find exactly what specifically I have to have on there. But maybe like, okay, I'm thinking of another supervisee and we were co-facilitating a group.
Okay.
And in the group, I gave an opinion and she just didn't like the opinion.
Oh, okay.
And you could tell, I mean, she was having a hard time. So she felt strongly about what I'd said. She turned red. She got tearful. We barely made it out of the group before she was telling me that what I'd said was wrong. And that she felt like I needed to apologize to the group.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I went,
It was very strong.
Yeah.
An opinion.
And I wish I could remember exactly what the opinion was. It wasn't related to mental health. Which also felt like, And I thought, if I'd made an opinion maybe about like a specific diagnosis or an opinion about a medication that someone in the group was taking. But this was like an opinion about a preference.
And you're like, oh, okay.
So I did stop and think about it though, which I think is like that's you said, you said it doesn't always mean it's a bad thing. There's value in it. That I did stop and reflect and think, what impact does it have that I gave an opinion? The opinion might affect somebody negatively. It might, in some cases, make me like genuine or relatable. But in the same way that it could do that, it could do the opposite.
Sure.
So I did stop and think about it, but I did also think, I don't know. I mean, no one else in the group at all seemed put off except for her. I think in the end, I said, I apologized to her. And said, I don't know that it's necessary for the group. They seemed unaffected.
And why would we bring something up that wasn't going to cause more dynamic?
So then we did spend time talking about why it was so surprising to her.
Right. I mean, I think that's part of this whole being prepared to be called out
Mm-hmm.
is when, and sometimes just asking a question, right? We are supposed to know the answer,
Mm-hmm.
but there's plenty of times that I'm like, I have to look that up. I don't actually know.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read what the board says on that and I'll get back to you. Because there are things that change in the board.
Right.
Or there's things that like just hasn't crossed my mind before.
What about, I feel like my supervisees do this to me. They'll mention something and they, with kind of like the appreciation for me, like, Sarah knows everything.
Oh, yeah. Like you're...
Yeah. So they'll say, have you heard of ABCD
right. And you're like,
training? And I'm like,
nope.
No, I haven't. Or the ABCD model of fixing kids. And I'm like, I haven't heard of that one.
Tell me all about it.
Yeah. I think even that, for
right.
some people, you might have to prepare yourself for that. I think it usually is a surprise to my supervisees with the first time I say, I don't know.
Right.
I haven't heard of that one. I can look it up.
Right.
Or you can tell me about it. That they kind of go, what? How do you don't know about that one?
So I use that too. And I say, I don't know. I'll have to look it up for my newer, like greener supervisees. But if it's someone about to launch into their own thing and they've like been with me a long time, I'm like, I don't know. What does the board say? Like, I won't do the work for them because that is part
definitely.
of it. You know, like, well, go look that up. Are you allowed to write a letter for that? I don't know. Go check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Even if sometimes I have hunch. It's like you have to get familiar with being able to read through that.
I think, I mean, like paperwork. Like I don't fill out paperwork for my supervisees. That's your paperwork.
Right.
But same thing if they ask me questions. I'm like, I mean, I could go look it up just as easily as you could go look it up. But it is your responsibility to maintain and stay on top of your license. So you should go look it up.
Yeah. Get comfortable with reading all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I don't feel in some way defensive or caught off guard if someone calls me out about board changes. Right now, our board is changing so quickly.
Yeah, changes every week. I feel like there's a new update on something.
I do. I have had maybe a couple who have said, like, you don't know? I'm like, I don't, because it changes all the time.
Because it keeps changing.
So there's opportunity for us and opportunity for supervisees through training and being called out sometimes.
Right.
It's an opportunity for both of us to learn, the supervisor and the supervisee. So
very true.
Heather and I would love to hear about how you handle being called out and other aspects of behind the scenes supervision. Thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision. You've been listening to Supervision with a Vision. Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Therapy Academy to join the conversation and get show notes. We'll be back next week with more Supervision with a Vision.